we're just kind of shooting the shit today.
I think so.
Yeah, that's cool. I can do that.
Getting back into a semi-regular routine.
Mm-hmm. Are we on? Is it happening?
We can warm ourselves up, whatever.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's happening.
As it usually does. Just kind of like
it happens.
a drop into it.
I like it. Is your brother here?
He is. He's next door at physio right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. But that was something else. Anyway. Yeah. So it's been a while.
Yeah. I was trying to think this morning when the last time I was here. On podcast.
On a podcast.
And I think it was Pulse with Connor. Or was there one after?
Oh, yeah.
I
You're
think
probably...
There might have been one after, but I think that might have been my last one for a while.
It might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you're right.
Which was what? March still, right?
It was either the end of March
Maybe
or
more
the
April.
beginning of April.
Because things were still shut down.
Yep.
Like it was in, yeah.
They had just started their telephysio stuff.
That's right. Wow, that seems like a lifetime ago.
It does. It was a while ago.
I mean, like 5 months at least, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
We're in month 10, so yeah. Well,
are we really?
Uh-huh. Almost towards the end. Halfway through, I guess.
What a weird life this is.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
We all sort of lost...
Just like sense of time.
4 months.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Crazy.
With
it's weird because I feel like during... Like, we hustled hard at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And then I, like, also in my own business, hustled hard to, like, get an online following.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's not that I lost 4 months, but that I, like, had a very different business plan for 4 months. And then all of a sudden I'm like, right, I was doing that thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not forever, but I was doing the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, everything was very different for a while. And, like... Podcast has still been going on. It's okay.
I'm choking on liquid. That's good. It's not a COVID cough, my friends. I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, things were different, and you know, we like the in-person podcasts a lot more because
I think that's why I kind of bowed for a bit because
It's really hard because we thrive off of like the flow of the conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
And just like connection. And I don't get that as much, and I think everybody doesn't get that as much over a computer.
There's like the latency.
Yeah.
There's way less non-verbal feedback.
Yeah.
Especially when there's a latency. It's like you're trying to read the person, but you can't necessarily get it on the right timing. Yeah. It's a challenge, and sometimes you can like really like pull yourself into the flow of it if you're kind of like lucky or things like, work.
Yeah.
But kudos. Yeah. And I think that's why like a lot of the best podcasts are done in person.
Totally.
You know?
Like Joe Rogan, that's why he flies people out. He's like, I would way rather, spend whatever money to get you out here than have you over a phone or over a computer. And I totally get that.
Joe Rogan, like most of Tim Ferriss is in person.
How's the Impact Theory doing these days? I haven't been listening.
I haven't been listening either. It's funny. I know that towards the the last couple months, Tom launched Impact Theory University, like an online course thing.
Okay.
Were we talking about the free mindset course he had during COVID? That was pretty cool.
I think we were personally. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, you did that, right?
Yeah, it was like a 90-minute thing on like growth mindset and stuff. It was good.
That's right.
It was a good little overview of it. I still think that reading Mindset by Carol Dweck's kind of the way to go to learn about that, because he just basically rehashed it into what he's applied for himself or whatever.
Right.
And it's great. Like lots of people like Tom because he's kind of like a little bit goofy, but he's also really driven to improve upon the things that he's not so good at or whatever. He's really fueled by that. So yeah, no, that was fun. I did a lot of I guess the theme or whatever we want to talk about today is kind of like what happened during those lost months.
Yeah.
A little bit. And so, I mean, I did a lot of online courses just because I was like, I realized, I think it was this morning that, I mean, I think about it a lot, but I really don't do well with not making progress.
I feel that.
And with COVID being like this thing that halts a lot of things in its track, business and fitness for a lot of people. It was a huge struggle for a lot of people.
It's a lot of free time.
Yeah.
And I think in a world that's so busy hustling and moving and grooving all the time that, I mean, when you come to a dead stop, you're still spinning, right? You still have that like momentum in your body and you're like, I don't know what to do with it. But at the same time too, I mean, it's like you hear the thoughts you push away, right? Mm-hmm. Like you really have to meet yourself in that time. And I think that caused a lot of, at least for me personally, it was like, wow, there's a lot going on that I should probably talk to myself about. And so it makes it kind of weird.
For sure.
It makes you want to dive into stuff and distract yourself, but...
Yeah, and honestly, like, the courses in a lot of ways probably were a distraction. Like, I even recognize that, but it's not like...
You're not going to not use it, for sure, right? Like, still worth something, but, yeah.
Yeah, but...
Absolutely.
There was still a lot of time for reflection and contemplation there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a lot more than usually I give myself.
Yeah.
And so it was productive in that way, too, of being, like, a pause for me.
Yes.
I think so. But the other thing with that is, like... I don't know where I was going with that train of thought.
We were just hashing what's going on.
Yeah, no. But...
We're rusty.
No, it's not that. I don't know what exactly point I had to make with that, but...
Distractions.
Yeah.
Courses.
Yeah.
Who knows?
No, it was still, like, a challenge for everybody during that time, and it still is. Especially because in Canada we're kind of seeing, like,
going back.
Another... I don't know. Hopefully things stay... kind of where they're at right now.
Yeah.
For, like, at least for us in smaller towns.
Well, you know what I heard, though, is that, which is quite frustrating. So the fitness scene in bigger cities have pretty much, at least in gyms, have closed down. And so people from, nearby larger cities are now coming here, like Oshawa, to come to Peterborough to use the Good Life because their membership works at different gyms. So now we have this influx of people coming in from bigger cities or different cities, which is not good because that's a different pool of people coming into our gyms because they're open still. So I can see if that trend continues, if they don't start policing that, we're going to have the same, kind of quasi shutdown that everybody else is going for.
As far as I know, because Alex was telling me this, they are so far some of the Good Lives have started.
Are they good?
If you aren't from the area, they aren't letting you in.
Good.
When you scan in, it'll say, "Oh, this isn't like your address is from a different city or whatever."
Right.
She was in Burlington on the weekend.
Yeah.
And trying to get into the Good Life there.
And they didn't let her.
Well, she got in because it wasn't. She got in basically, but if you're from like Toronto or Peel or whatever, they were flat out like refusing those people. So, and maybe rest assured that like at least Good Life's kind of on top of that.
That's good to hear, yeah.
Because I imagine the Good Life's gonna be the most challenging one. Like people may try to join like House or something.
Yeah.
Because they do month-to-month memberships or whatever.
Yeah, so you've got your security there.
You might get, like, some new members from different towns coming in.
Yeah, maybe, eh?
But, which hopefully doesn't affect them as much. But yeah, I can see if people are trying to sneak into the big box gyms.
Yeah.
Is going to be a challenge.
Interesting.
But then, like, the other thing is, it's usually the healthiest people that are in the gyms.
Oh, it drives me nuts, yeah. this whole conversation of gyms closing first, I'm like,
yeah.
What about bars?
Yeah.
Where people have like questionable judgment and probably aren't distancing. Mm-hmm. Why aren't we closing those?
Yeah.
And apparently they're just limited hours. I haven't really looked into it because it doesn't affect me. I don't go to bars.
What, the bars?
But, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like they have to be closed at midnight or something.
Which really
11 p.m. or midnight.
That's like an hour before they normally close. Like it's really, it's not. I don't know.
It's not even that big of a difference.
And like people can get drunk before that. You know, like people can really do the damage before midnight if they really want to.
Yeah.
No, that really frustrates me, and I don't. It's like almost a conversation where it has no. Like it's a waste of my energy to spend because it's already closed, but I just don't understand the logic behind, let's close gyms completely instead of making it like a appointment only or whatever that it was before.
Yeah.
And then all these other places where, people aren't maybe so healthy are allowed to roam free. What?
Yeah.
Is it like a government thing? This is where I get frustrated with the system because I'm like, well, maybe the gyms just aren't making the government that much money, whereas bars are.
I don't know.
Like, alcohol will always be something the government fights for.
True.
So, it's
But, yeah. I mean, they also, in Toronto, they closed indoor dining in restaurants.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, so, that's a whole other story, too, because that's a massive industry.
That's true.
Yeah, and a way bigger sort of task to try to overcome, because how many restaurants are there, and already some of
they're dwindling now.
Yeah, but... a lot of the ones 30 plus years in business have in Toronto have had to close their doors for good, which is sad to see.
It sucks. It's like a really strange unnatural selection I'll use. Because it's not nature's well, I guess it is because it's a virus, but this is just, to me, it's evolution and the stuff Darwin talks about, but just happening straight up to humans now and not just animals in the wild. The weak ones are unfortunately leaving, and it's really hard to see.
Yeah.
Because it's we like the little guys, but it's an interesting, with a psychology mindset, it's interesting to kind of watch from a bird's eye view. Being in it is really sad, though.
Yeah.
It really sucks to see. I'm really impressed, actually, with Peterborough, the little businesses that have been able to stay. The coffee shops downtown are unaffected. I don't know of many restaurants, actually, that have closed here.
I haven't heard so many.
Not downtown.
All the news I've seen about restaurants closing has mostly been in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some fitness studios that have had to shut down and that kind of thing around here and kind of in the surrounding region, but not not as many as I would have thought, which is amazing. It was really cool to see here that there's been so much local support that people are like, no, we want you to stick around.
Yeah.
And some restaurants even here, I've heard them say it's been their best year yet because they've had such support.
That's good to hear.
It's lovely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to feel like if I'm eating out, I'm doing it for justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's since it's relevant, I had Miriam Monsef here yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that whole paparazzi
gang. She was doing a tour of some of the different businesses that have been supported through Community Futures Peterborough during the closures and everything, with the recovery and the relief and recovery funds, and we made the pick here at FlowSpa to be one of the places they came and visited, and it was very heartwarming to get that support and vote of confidence that
That's awesome.
There's people that have our back. So just like you said, it's it caught me off guard a little bit on how nice of a little meet and greet it was.
Yeah, that's great.
To have them stop by and see how things were going and learn a little bit more about the business, as well as all the support that Community Futures has given us here to keep things going when it was quiet, and the transition, something that make a double segue here, because it's what we were working on at the start of COVID, and part of the resurgence now is we've been working extra hard to like complete this wellness course that we've been putting together for a while and trying to make it as awesome as possible. And so that was actually something that I got a lot of support through Community Futures Peterborough as well, because they gave me a grant to like take the business online.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I made that like free course during the first wave where it was like healthy at home. Right. Just some of the stress relief and wellness things that you can do at home or in more solitude, which is still free on the website if anybody does want to check it out. And that's kind of like a lead into the bigger wellness course that you and I can kind of join forces with and use our joint expertise to make something that's really impactful and can get you, talking about survival of the fittest or evolution. Like we want to be those like evolutionarily fit people that can handle, the stressors and just kind of have wellness at that next level for whether it's COVID or whatever else comes next.
Totally. Well, yeah, it's a hard world, like regardless of pandemic, right? It's always been that way, especially, at least, I mean, in the world we live in. I can't speak for other communities and societies, but it's, I think at the end of the day, like resiliency and growth mindset are the two things that really you need to keep going forward, especially like we're both entrepreneurs and in that world, it's like, there's so many moments of self-doubt and so many moments of like hurdles that you're like, I don't even know how to deal with that. Like I've never come across this before. And just being able to have like a back pocket of tools to support ourselves is so important. Mostly just emotionally, like to be able to support ourselves emotionally and physically in terms of health. Like it's to have a healthy vessel. Then it's like, okay, there's this hurdle that I've come across, but I feel strong enough to deal with it. And we'll figure it out. I feel apt enough to deal with it, or at least I can figure out how to converse with someone who can. And I think that's, your foundation. Wellness, I would say, is your foundation on and how to build your own life.
Like, I mean, if this isn't like a case in point for this whole global situation, then I don't know what is.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So, I still get the feeling like, we're still in that like fear-mongering news sort of time. Like I don't know when the last time I saw like a positive like post on Facebook or in the news. I mean, I'm kind of I don't look at a lot of news. That was something that I even recognized for myself during the first wave. Was like that first week was like, oh, my mind was a spiral out of control because I was just constantly checking what was going on, hoping that like they weren't going to announce like FlowSpa had to close down, on and on, refresh, and it's such a disaster for your like well-being, like mentally, but still like trying to get through with like the positive messages is what we've got to do and come together for. Absolutely. Because when like these waves of COVID die down and all that, like I think that wellness is going to be bigger than ever. And I agree. In all the different ways, like once again, if this isn't the like cry for like wake up, the wake up call that we've all been looking for, I don't know what is. And we were just filming like the getting back in the nature part of the wellness course, and like I've heard, I think it was Michael Gervais was talking about it on his podcast Finding Mastery, the idea that like part of this is because we've become so detached from nature.
That's really interesting.
And I don't know what you think about that, but like it resonates with me.
Say more and then I'll tell you.
Yeah, so what he's kind of saying, I might have to go back and find the clip or whatever where it's kind of like this virus has gotten out of controllers reach this level of infection rate partially because, and I don't know, like Michael Gervais is a sports psychologist, so take this with a grain of salt that he's not an epidemiologist or he's not like a virus specialist, a virologist, I guess.
Virologist.
I think that's a real word.
I'll go with it. Sounds
good. But he's got like this perspective or this idea that he's toying with that because we become so detached from nature is part of the reason why it's just like nature's now attacking back.
On a spiritual level, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Do I have the science to back it up? No, but I absolutely stand by that.
Yeah.
I think little teaser for that nature clip, like one of the things that I was talking about was just how, from the book Braiding Sweetgrass, which I highly recommend everybody read, talking about how, the earth is our caretaker. Like, we are not to take care of the earth is to take care of us, and we live amongst it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that element of connection, and I get infuriated, like, the more that I reconnect back to nature, especially through all of this, and then I see all this development happening, and like they're chopping down all these, like, it makes me emotional, chopping down all these like beautiful pollinator flowers and like all these wild grasses that need to grow together in order to thrive, and this kind of thing, or seeing like fields of just corn where the corn can't grow super well on its own without beans, and like it's just one of these, like, we're really ruining it, we're really messing it up. And like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, Mama Nature is a woman, and the power of a woman is very terrifying when you mess with her. So she's showing her wrath for sure, and why would she care for us if we haven't cared for her?
Yeah.
For so long. Like, what's it to her? Like, that need for reciprocity is so strong in any relationship, be it us with the earth or us like with humans, right? It's like, I can't just keep asking you for stuff and not also give to you. Like, that needs to happen. And so we're doing a lot of take, and we've done a lot of take for many of years. And I would say she's fighting back for sure. Is it through COVID? I don't know. But, I think she's hiding her secrets from us a lot more, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Like, I always like, what is it, Peter Pan quote or something, like, those who don't believe in magic won't find it. And I think that's really true with nature too. It's like, if you don't actually go out and connect and seek and look, you're going to miss so much. The little details, and then you don't feel that connection, and then you feel sad and lonely.
Yeah.
So I don't know the connection with COVID with that, but I do agree that, like, as a society as a whole, we absolutely have some realignment to do with this kind of stuff, because it's going the wrong way.
Pop back into
it. So it's probably going to be less congruent now. But just talking about my frustrations with, everything, but like mass development. So right now where I live in town, I'm about to pull every hair in my head out. Like, I am so frustrated because, and it's nothing I can do, but there is construction to the left, dusty, loud, like bulldozing, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every GD day. And then there's construction to, the right over here. And so it's where I park my car. So my car is just dusty. Looks like I live on, like, I don't even know, like the fucking, desert. Getting casual now because I'm talking about personal stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so it's no secret that I love going to Haroldtown. Every single road.
Oh my goodness.
Every single road towards there, doesn't matter, is closed for construction because they're fixing a swing bridge so that boats can pollute the gross canal even more and drive through and live their pleasurable rich person life with no regard for nature. So I'm getting very frustrated with this because, like, all the beauty that I personally immerse myself in is now being put into development, and it's brown and it's dusty and it's loud and it's artificial, and it's like, it's making me upset because I'm like, all the things, like, for example, one of the construction plots, I knew it was going to happen, but I wasn't ready for it. It became very overgrown because it was not a maintained plot of land, and everything that grew was so beautiful. There was like catnip and nettle and like all this goldenrod and asters and like all these things that like the bees love and the birds love, and it was so good. And then all just in a day, this big giant machine just came on in and took it all down. And I'm like, oh, I should have at least foraged some of that to say thank you to it. Like it just sat there wasted, and it was such beautiful stuff. So it's been frustrating me, just all of this development. I'm like, why do we have to do this? Like, one, they're building a school, and I'm here to say that school is not going to be the same anymore, and they probably shouldn't do that. But it's just crazy to me. On a side note, I got a ticket going to Haroldtown because I was like, you know what? I'm going to go down Old Norwood Road, and I'm going to just try. And it said local traffic only on the sign, but it was put up an hour ago. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, there's no construction happening yet. They're probably going to do it in the next couple of weeks. And I got ticketed for disobeying a sign, $110 for that short 500-meter drive.
We've been down.
That's cool.
That's good to know, because that was the route I was thinking to take. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
We've been down it. Jeff and I actually cut through there on the weekend.
I'm sure on the weekend it's less...
like monitored or whatever.
It's a gamble every time, but... Huh. Yeah, brutal.
So which... You gotta go like all the way down to Lansdowne.
Lansdowne.
That is insane.
And Lansdowne's under construction too at Ashburnham. So it took me 30 minutes to get to Haroldtown the other day.
Yeah.
It takes me 5
on
a regular day. I'm there.
Yeah,
like I almost
right
live there. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So just all of this, this is such a personal battle for me, but all of this to say, like, it's so much harder to access nature. Like, it's getting hard. Yeah, and like... And we live in such a green space.
That's what I was going to say is, like, a lot of our listeners are local and everything, friends and whatnot, but for people tuning in elsewhere, or, even with, like, the wellness course being something that we can offer to people that aren't just in our local spheres of the Pilates and animal flow and floating and all that. And people aren't as lucky with the green space that we've got in this town.
It's funny I complain, really, because we live in such a beautiful area. It really is, like, nature is accessible. Yeah. It's inconvenient, though, at the moment.
Like, it's scary to think of, like, how much more inconvenient is it going to become.
Well, you're seeing all these subdivisions even go out. Like, I no longer live on the edge of town. Yeah. There's so much more beyond it now to the east. And it's, like, I had this, like, nightmarish, what do you call it? Like a daymare? Because I had a daydream, but it was a nightmare. Yeah. Of just, like one day Haroldtown's going to be surrounded by houses and subdivisions. And there's no longer going to be, like, green as far as the eye can see. Yeah. Like, really soon. Because it's not far from that. And I'm wondering when...
Even Jackson Park.
Totally. Gosh, it's already there.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It encroaches right upon that bridge.
Yep. Yeah, it's brutal. And I just don't... I say this from a point of privilege, and a point of probably ignorance, but, like, I don't understand why we have to do all this stuff. Yeah. Like, all of it is for the gain of, like, industry. And I live in such a, like... beautiful bubble of my friend group that I'm just like, but we don't need that. We just need land. We just need the land and a couple of tents and we're good to go. I don't understand why we need, a sewer system when the earth does that naturally. But not for me to say, I guess. But it's getting tricky. It's getting tricky to really find that. And I do feel bad for people out of town. Like, that's why I left Toronto when I was living there. Like, I loved the city and I loved the convenience of everything and, like, riding my bike around everywhere. But the air is just, like, I get headaches when I go there now. It's not clean. Yeah. And, like, and you just can't get away from it. Yeah. So it's unfortunate.
No. I feel like at some point in time, we've talked about this on the podcast, but, I spent 8 years in Toronto, and it was hard to get used to it. It was not hard to leave it.
That's how I felt too.
Even going back, you know, that, like, you come off the subway or whatever, you're on the corner with hundreds of people. It just feels And it depends on my day and my mood. Like sometimes I don't want to be around that many people.
Oh yeah.
And it's hard in Toronto. You can't get away from it. So
that's what made me leave, because I was hungry for nature. And even when you go to nature, quote unquote, everybody's there.
Yeah.
Taking pictures under trees. Doing oh my gosh, High Park and cherry blossom season. Stand clear.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Like I feel bad for those trees. They just want to be trees, and they're being like, all this technology pointed at it. They don't need those EMFs. They don't want
it. But the other thing is like that constant buzz in the air at night. I had to sleep with earplugs the entire time I spent in Toronto because I couldn't.
Did you find the transition like? Could you not sleep when you came to quieter spaces?
In some ways, because during that time was when I developed sleep apnea, and so the CPAP, like I don't like the sound of like my like sort of Darth Vader sounding breathing. So enough. I use some sort of white noise that blocks that sound of me breathing in and out.
Right.
Because it distracts me.
Right.
So I usually, actually, like since then, I've always had white noise of some sort.
It's always been a buzz,
Unless I'm trying to sleep without the mask, which I've been working on, which
Sweet.
Maybe is like a conversation for another day, because it's kind of like a long, winding thing, like James Nestor's book Breath.
Okay.
And like the idea of, like that whole like trendy nasal breathing thing.
Yeah.
It's a long
Mouth
conversation.
taping? Is that part of that one?
It is part of that one too. Something that I've been experimenting with.
Have you?
To try to fix my sleep apnea to some extent. It seems to be working.
Cool.
To some extent.
All right.
Like I don't think I'm fully there.
Yeah.
But
you know what I heard helps? This is such a side note, but the woman who certified me in Pilates has sleep apnea.
Okay.
And so she's been doing like neck Pilates.
Oh.
Just to strengthen the muscles in her neck.
Yeah.
And she said it's been helping so much, but the one thing that's really been helping her is singing.
Mm-hmm.
Like regular practice of vocal cords, and she'll just formally or informally, she has to like sing every day, and then it actually helps her sleep.
Interesting. I've heard something similar, which I think is something that Andrew Huberman's been talking about a lot. Do you follow him much?
No.
I think you'd really like his stuff too. He's a neuroscientist.
Cool.
Fun. He talks about all kinds of things at like a really, tight level. I'll send you some of the podcasts to check out that I think you'd like with him. But I think it was him mentioning that humming, or I guess singing would be the same, actually like increases the nitric oxide production. Okay. I guess, through like nasal passages tenfold or something.
Interesting.
And so...
Because you're doing it with your mouth closed, maybe. So your nose has to turn on.
Yeah, but that nitric oxide, improves, like airflow, like opens things up. Blood vessel dilation.
Right.
So it's kind of neat, like the humming and singing. That's cool to know though, because it's something that we'll probably touch on. Like we'll have like our running conversation too, because we've both been into
we're runners now, everybody.
I don't know how much time you have, because like that's a long conversation too.
I was gonna say, I mean, I'm easy, but
that's something like with not having strongman competitions this year, and the training being off too, like the gym's closed. I've got a lot of equipment in my backyard, but the setup's not always ideal, especially weather constraints. Like I can't train crazy.
You shouldn't be throwing heavy weight when it's wet.
When it's wet or cold. It's different. Like it got to be safer, and like that nagging back injury has gotten a lot better this year because I've been a little bit smarter about like training sensibly. But it first started with like cycling throughout the summer with Tony, and then like taking up some running. Like I've lost quite a bit of weight, and that's also made a difference in my sleep.
That's fair.
I would say.
Yeah, they do say that for like snoring and stuff, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I've heard other athletes say that too. Like, and I'm pretty sure that Josh and I were talking about this a month or so ago on the podcast. But like Highland Games world champion Matt Vincent, he used to compete around like 300 pounds. And, in the off season or whatever, he would lose a bunch of weight because you don't need to like always carry that weight. Yeah. Like his optimal competing weight was around like what I normally compete at too.
Yeah.
And he would notice the difference. I don't think he ever had like full-blown sleep apnea, but he'd still like the snoring and everything.
Even just like quality of sleep.
Yeah, quality of sleep goes way up when like weight comes down. The other thing like I've noticed, and the only thing I've changed with, because sleep quality has been on and off, with the spa opening back up, like there's been a lot more going on.
Yeah.
So like my sleep's like sometimes not as much as like is ideal. My HRV has gone like through the roof since adding in like this more like cardio based training too.
What's HRV?
Heart rate variability.
Thank you.
Like
yeah, and it's good to have more HRV, right? That's
higher HRV is like a score or is like an indicator of how ready you are to perform.
That's right.
Essentially it means that like you can fluctuate between sympathetic and parasympathetic much better.
That's what's his face? Andrew Tactivision was talking about HRV on his story the other day.
Okay, yeah.
It's fresh in my mind.
Yeah. So
cool.
It's been cool to see like the increase, the spike up there. And I don't know, I attribute it mostly to like the changes in training, but maybe some of the weight loss too would probably make a difference.
I think too, just having changes in training, like the different stimuli all the time, like your nervous system's always like, okay, we're here. So you do have to have that variability to make it work.
Yeah. But, and also like, in addition to that, it's a good sign that like doing all this stuff, which I've talked about it on a couple of, I think like the short podcasts as well as on my Instagram, was the whole, like through COVID, I did over 60 days straight of exercise, and like my HRV didn't, like my recovery and everything did not plummet during that time, because it's more about, it's okay. I'll keep going over top of your choking. Unless I need to
like I'm like self-conscious about doing it, so then I'm drinking weird.
Unless I need to like intervene because it's an emergency, but
so far so good.
Like it's almost like the more that you exercise more consistently, the better you get at like recognizing the days that you can push harder and the days that you need to back off.
Totally.
So that's something that I've kind of discovered too through COVID. Like one of the lessons I'd say is because I used to be in the same mindset as most like strongman or strength athletes, which is still true. You can't do max effort like every single day. No. But that doesn't mean that those days off you do nothing. Correct.
Totally. That's something that I've been, Freya my coach, I've been talking to her a lot about, like this stuff. It's funny to kind of, not funny, it's lovely to have somebody kind of meet me where I've been, my wheels have been turning and stuff, but she's saying like, a lot of us coaches or us, more experienced in certain fitness modalities, like our whole job in fitness is just to counterbalance our life.
Yeah.
Like it's not always about going all hard. It's more about like, okay, so I did this yesterday and if I sit still, I'm going to like seize up because body doesn't like, motion is lotion, as they say. Body doesn't like stagnation. So what can I do today to support what I'm going to do tomorrow? Mm-hmm. And that's been that's been my whole program, is basically like, okay, this is a quote unquote off day, which means no, I'm not off, but it's like the whole day is like, joint function or mobility or like doing things that support the next thing.
Yeah.
And that to me has given me the most success in recovery. Like it's allowing blood flow to move around my body more. One, just like that emotional satisfaction to say, check, I did something today and it was productive towards my goals. But it's not holding me back from, I'm not gassing myself today so that I can't do something tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like there's a new Pilates teacher at Sweat Happy. So I took one of her classes on the weekend and she's just got like a different mindset. She's great.
Yep.
We're different. I'll say that. And so she's, in that mindset of like, let's go hard. Let's get her done. And I think part of that's just because, Pilates is what she does. Whereas I'm like a hybrid athlete, they would call me, which I'm like, sure. I do a lot of different things. And so I have a lot of different goals. And so I never want to totally gas myself just on one modality because I don't have that energy to spare necessarily because I've got hill sprints tomorrow.
Yeah.
Today, actually. It's great. That's why I'm dressed in I'm ready to go for hill sprints after this. But I was so sore after taking her class because she just wrecked me. And it was one of those, like, I hate being sore. I haven't been sore in my muscles, like, to a point of not being able to function.
Yeah.
Probably for 3 years.
Okay.
Not true, because I've worked out with Josh Chessman in that 3-year period. But it's been, like, I highly avoid it so that I can actually grow every single day instead of being, like, you know, 1 step forward, 2 steps back every single day. And that, if anyone is hearing anything from this conversation right now, it's like, that's the key right there. If you want to grow as an athlete, it's that 85% rule that you were talking about before too. It's you have to scale back more than you think you should. Like it's not game day every day. Yeah. It's not race day every day. It's interesting. My own programming, like I'm training long term for one day an ultra marathon. Would love to run that.
Cool.
And never in my program has there been a steady state run. Ever. Like I'm not doing that, but that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like that's kind of the mindset I had before. I was doing all these steady state runs and funny enough got injured from that because I was, it was race day every day and I'll just do 20K every day, just see how far I can go and how fast I can do it and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm actually doing all this like more calculated training because I pay for it and someone else is training me. And the way that it's been set up isn't like, it's so not what I would have thought it is. Like some of my runs are 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's hard for me because I'm like, is that why even bother?
Sure.
But it's like every day that I'm doing like these little runs that are essentially strength training for my musculoskeletal system. I have a hard time saying that word. So that one day when I do, pound the dirt for 5 hours or 10 hours or 30 hours, depending on what distance I want to do, I'm going to be strong enough to do it and have the endurance. But if you don't know that, it's so hard to see how it builds, and it makes you want to do that hard stuff every day.
It does.
But
yeah. And another, it's a great point. Another thing that I want to chime in with as far as like you said, you got to do something is, the modality that's like near and dear to your heart is actually such a great like off day one with Animal Flow.
Isn't that awesome?
It's like, and I mean, it starts out being really hard because it is really hard.
It just is,
but
yeah.
Then it becomes something that's really great for once you know how to piece it together, 5 minutes or whatever. I mean, I still like start breathing hard and sweating with a 3 to 5 minutes because it's really challenging, but like you don't feel destroyed, unlike your hour-long classes, which you do feel destroyed because that's like the hard training to make it easy in the long run. But that was another thing that was like a real treat to like throw into my summer with like the outdoor classes.
Totally. That was a really special summer for me that way. Yeah. It was really fun.
Yeah. And yeah, like even thinking about it, the first few weeks of doing it, I know that I messed up the one day. I think I did heavy overhead press.
You did. And I remember that day because your arms, I've never seen your arms shake so much. Like for the strongest man in half of Canada here, it's his body weight stuff's getting him pretty good.
So I learned my lesson, but once again adapted to the point where actually I think I switched things up so that I was doing like deadlifts on Monday or something. Perfect. So that it wasn't as hard unless it was like high rep deadlifts and then with the glutes and hamstrings trying to like hold a scorpion pose was like
well, and that's what I love about Animal Flow in general is that you can use it for whatever purpose you want. You can use it for a strength training day if you want. You can use it for endurance. You can use it for coordination, like mind-brain training. You can use it for mobility.
Yep.
Like it can be a really fluid, lovely, like let's open the joints and make you feel like, you're not a tin man anymore.
Just active recovery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or you can go hard and you can use it for like you know, and sometimes animal flow workouts can feel like you did 300 burpees in a row if you do it right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's so versatile, and it's also fun. And that's what I love for like active recovery days, is that it's just, you feel playful and you feel curious and you feel a little bit wild and you feel a little like more connected to your body.
Yeah.
So you can really feel into your joints, and you're like, oh, who knew left shoulder's feeling a little wiggly today? That's interesting. And then there's always a movement you can use to remedy that stuff, which is, it's such a cool, inclusive system. But yeah, I don't know where to go from there, but it's been really helpful.
It's great.
It's fun. They reposted my one of my posts the other day.
Cool.
Yeah. It's such an, I'm still like so starstruck. They've done it twice now, and I'm like, why do I matter that much? But there's such an awesome community too. Like it's big, but it's small.
Yeah.
Like all the instructors know each other all around the world, and all the instructors like support each other all around the world, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
So
well,
cool
I mean, like you've also really brought it to the forefront in our little town. So it's made a difference to our community.
It's been a lot of work, but it's been good.
Yeah.
It's been working, which is really cool.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been about probably a year and a half now.
Something like that.
And yeah, it's getting known, and it's really cool. I had a studio reach out to me, I guess over COVID, just saying like, hey, when we open back up again, we're losing some battery there.
That's okay.
It's all good.
We'll just keep going with audio at this point.
Sounds good. But yeah, when they open back up again, they wanted me to come right in and do animal flow. So I've been doing that twice a week there, which is amazing to have like a proper floor to work on. It's so good. It's so good. But yeah. Animal flow's been good. I've been doing the online thing too, which is sweet. Like I've still got my COVID buddies that they were with me through and through on good old Zoom and everyone's little square box. still going every Monday, which is cool.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, once again, that's the innovation and pivoting online that we were talking about. Resilience and always moving forward.
Totally.
Is so, it's the name of the game. It's always the name of the game, but even more so, it's like, if you didn't have that mindset before, like, it's time to start learning it.
It's time to start learning. And I guess that's where we can wrap back around to our wellness course, is that, you know, it's not directly about that resiliency, but it is about, you know, tuning in with yourself and tuning in with your mental health and your physical health and those around you, and that's which is around you.
Yep.
And that, you know, you're building that healthy base. Like, I'm really excited about it because it's such good information, and I think we've made it pretty clean, cut and dry in the way that we deliver it, that it's just like, hey, here's the hard facts on these things, and implement it and see how your life gets better. Like, no, it's not a business course, but I bet you if you do this, your business will thrive a little more.
For sure.
It's not a relationships course, but I bet you if you take care of yourself, your relationships will thrive a bit more. Like, it's such a cool, like I keep saying, your base or your foundation, that like it's really going to help people.
Yeah, and even you know, I'd say it's quite the gentle course too. You know, we've made it for being sensitive to the stress and anxiety and the time that we're living in. But and I've sort of like a final mic drop that kind of relates to, well, it is related to the video that that's going out on the YouTube channel for tomorrow. But just another thought there, you know, even like you said with something that I came across recently with like the concept of how it helps in relationships too is like, you know, it's like that empathy, it's developing that empathy and like ability to listen, and all of that is tied into wellness. Because if you're unwell, like there's too much going on in your own mind to be, you know, supportive or caring or all of that. You don't
have the space to be present, right?
And like, so the final point, before we wrap up for today, it's like something that we do, and our group kind of thrives in, is discomfort. Yeah. This wellness course is not, in some ways, like I think each week, you know, maybe not every single week, because some of them will be kind of more aligned with what you're currently doing or you're skilled at. Some are things you need to work on more, and it's like, you know, we've got the workbook material too, the things that are going to help you to, implement it, but to become more weller. I just wanted to say that, for wellness.
Do better, get weller.
Yeah.
I like it.
For wellness and improving your wellness does require that you push above and beyond what you're currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have, a regular exercise program, that's going to be uncomfortable for a bit until you get better.
Totally.
If you're not prioritizing your sleep enough, those sleep hygiene strategies we talk about, that's
going to be tough.
It's a challenge. To get outside of the discomfort, and then there's solitude, which we'll just leave at that for
that's
today.
The ultimate discomfort. But totally, you growth hurts at the end of the day. You remember being 11, 12, or I don't know when you started growing, but it hurts your bones, right? I remember being that age and just crying in bed at night, being I'm in pain.
Yeah.
But I don't not want it. It's not one of those things that I wish this would stop, because you see, as that age, for some reason, I don't know, when I was that age, I just wanted to grow up. I wanted to be big. I wanted to be... So I didn't see it as a bad thing. It just was an uncomfortable thing. And same with, you watch a plant push through the surface of the dirt, it's dark under there, and it's, there's a crust you have to peek through, but it's such a delicate little thing underneath, it's that newness, it's that freshness, and that first peek through is hard. Or even if you want to go so far and talk about birth,
yeah,
it's I've never done it, but I bet you it hurts. I mean, it seems like it. The media sure portrays it that way, and so do people who have done it. But it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And it's something you do, and that's same thing with growth in any aspect, even if it's small. And not to scare anyone on this course, because it's not to be that. It's not it's going to be this crazy uncomfortable thing. I think everything we've talked about is very digestible.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone, get out of your normal, and just recognize that there's work to be done, and recognize whether or not you want to do the work, first of all. But to be able to grow through there. Sleep hygiene sucks the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
It sucks so much because you're going to have bad sleeps. You have to make yourself tired to have a good sleep. Changing your nutrition is going to be rocky because your gut health is going to change, which means you're going to be uncomfortable and probably a little gurgly for a bit. That kind of thing. Going out to nature, you might have to change your schedule. Instead of, scrolling through TikTok for 3 hours.
You might have to travel 30 minutes instead of 5.
You might have to. But we do it. Because it's important. Totally.
Yeah.
And so those are the little discomforts that'll definitely come with this. But it's the little things that make it so worth it. You'll see that, you'll feel.
Yeah.
Not even just see, but you'll feel that growth.
Yeah.
In yourself, and as we were just saying, in those around you, because you're allowing yourself this space to get weller, to do better.
Get weller. Exactly. And as if I haven't said it enough already today, this morning on this podcast, is I think more and more people are ready for the change. Absolutely. Because we don't have any other option right now.
Well, they're not telling us. Nobody knows the secret right now. Nobody knows how to get over this. And so we're kind of grasping at straws. But what we know is that these things that we have to share in this course, they work.
Yeah.
They're real baseline human things. I don't care what kind of human you are. I don't care what your job is, your career is, what your goals are. This stuff is foundational. This stuff is for everybody. And that's... Start there.
Yep.
And we're going to hold your hand. It's, what is it, 8 weeks? I don't even know right now. Yeah, 8 weeks long. That's 2 months. We'll hang out with you. We'll take care of you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be cool. Even if it's subtle transformation, it's transformation. And it should feel gentle. I don't think change or growth should feel like you've 180'd and you don't know where you've landed anymore. I think it should feel like, wow, I feel really supported and ready to move forward.
Yep.
And that's what this course is going to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's wrap it up there for today.
Sounds good.
But
it's good to be back.
It is.
Thanks for listening to my voice, everybody.
Yeah. It's nice to flow again with it.
Totally.
And get back into it. I had some sort of like brain fart at the start and lost my train of thought, but
it's okay. I choked on my coffee
like
twice too. I don't think I've ever choked on my coffee that much.
And but yeah, things are different, but still the same. You know, trying to keep moving forward, and we'll see how regular. Like, it'll be regular, just not weekly.
Correct.
Is what we're planning to do for the podcast because.
Because we gotta take care of ourselves too.
Yeah.
Really, to show up.
Kind of like the number one lesson from COVID.
Absolutely.
And it's still.
And it's gonna be okay if we don't show up every week.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay. That's my lesson there. It's you don't have to do it all to make it all jive, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Let's
onward and upward.